So mine says live, and I've always got to go back in and click, make sure that everything's okay, but I'm sure it is. Live stream.
I'm just going to check mine. No. Oh, it says I'm live, but there's got some bit of something stuck to my scroll pad. It hasn't shown up yet. Everyone keeps telling me they're not getting notified. Yep, I'm up now, live.
Yeah, mine says live too. I don't know why they're not. I think that they have to click for notifications as well, but I think
Uh,
it's more than just being subscribed. I think you actually have to click. There's a little bell or something they're supposed to click to get a notice. I just don't hang out on YouTube, so I mean, if I get on it specifically to check an upload or something and or answer a couple of messages and then I'm off. I mean, I don't spend a lot of time on it, so I don't. I just use it to really to broadcast. I mean, I really don't.
yeah,
I'm not really a consumer so much of YouTube. Um, but anyway, so I think I'm live. Yeah.
I'm live.
All right.
I've got Kira, the lovely Kira. Hello, darling. How you doing? Yeah, I've got two. Say hi when you come on. Let us know you're there, which would be great. Yeah, I don't know what's happening with the bell. So I think they have to click the arrow, then they have to click the bell, and then there are some options to be warned when people are live, etc. I've just got so many messages saying, "Oh, I never get any notification when you're on."
Which is weird, but I can't figure it out, and I sure can't figure out YouTube. That's for sure. So,
Mm.
and they change things so often. I mean, you have to be on it all the time. I was just talking to some friends yesterday that helped me do editing, and the rules are they change. How things work, what they're trying to do. Who can do what. And these things change so frequently that it's like you'd have to reread the whole user agreement every time, once a month just to stay abreast of what's happening and how things are working. And it's like, at some point you say, I don't have time for this.
I know
Like,
it's so difficult, and when you look up how to do it, it's just all about subscribing, not how you can make sure your subscribers know you're on.
right.
Hi, Madge. Hi, Debs. Hi, Laurie. So I've got, well, it looks like, yeah, I've got four on, but it only says three. See? I know I've got four on because I've got four messages.
There you go.
So, yeah, I don't know if they, every now and then it unsets itself. I have no idea. Hmm.
So you're just getting done with your you work today? Did you work or you just you no you were working with the pigs? You were telling me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got up and I kind of, Wink wanted to go and see one of his mates, and I was just like, we need to clip Wilma's toes because they're like us. They've got like nails and they
Yeah.
grow. If they grow too much, it's uncomfortable and
Right.
split, and you don't want them splitting and anything. So
Right. Right.
we did that first, and then he went off, and I was giving them a scratch and kind of like enjoying the sun and like cuddling them
Right.
and stuff. And then I decided to clear out the pig house, which took a long time, and yeah, just Gorilla did the pen. So a really lovely day spent in the sun. And it's just like spring. It's like we saw a bumblebee today
Oh, really?
buzzing around, and a couple of moths. It's just like, whoa, I hope these guys know where they live when when we get hit with the whiplash of cold weather coming back. Debs is making a chili in the instant pot while we are live. Fantastic.
Wonderful.
Kira is waiting for her husband to get home. I know you'll be looking forward to that, darling. Fantastic. So, Dr. Gilmore has got some interesting material to share with y'all.
I do. Just waiting for a few more people to arrive, and I was actually looking for some current BMI information, and it's hard to find current. You can find lots of information, but how old is it? By the
Yeah,
time an article is published and then is sort of out there for a while. By the
yeah,
time you can find it, it's 5 years old. So it's sort of like,
yeah,
well.
yeah. And because they have the most hits, because they're old, they come up first, and it's really easy to
Right.
get caught delving into something that's ancient and not current. In fact, a funny bit of research that somebody told me about today. Obviously, I had my I know la, 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 kind of blinkers on. It was just like, apparently they found out that it's really super healthy and life-saving if you cover your vegetables with animal fat. It's just like,
Really?
no. Who have they tested? Sort of, people that are ill, people with heart disease, people with diabetes, people who are obese. Who have they tested? I reckon they've tested a
Yeah.
whole load of unhealthy people. They've taken away their meat and said, you have this diet, but you put animal fat on the vegetables. Of course, they're going to get an improvement, aren't they? Because they're probably eating a lot more healthy.
Eat more vegetables in general, yeah. So
Okay, and
both
how many vegans were in that study? I would
right,
say.
right. So both of the articles that I kind of reviewed for us and summarized, I thought both of them involve vegan diets and so forth, and the first one was actually published in 2016. So I'm going to go ahead and put it out on here. So I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not, but I'll kind of explain what it says. This is an article that I found that was actually published in the Journal of Food Science and Nutrition, which is a well-respected journal. And the title of the article is "Vegetarian, Vegan Diets and Multiple Health Outcomes: A Systematic Review with Meta-Analysis of Observational Studies." And I'm borrowing this. We're basically just talking about somebody's research, and so I'm presuming that if we put the title of the article and the authors here, Monica, Dainu, Rosanna, etc. here, they won't mind if we talk about their science, right?
No, I'm sure they're delighted.
So that was the title of the article. Here's a copy of the journal cover, Journal of Food Science and Nutrition. So this isn't just junk science. This is real science. This is peer-reviewed science. So it's good. And I only have 4 different slides on this one, but the objective of this study was to clarify the association between vegan diets, risk factors for chronic diseases, risk of all-cause mortality, incidence and mortality from cardiovascular diseases such as strokes, total cancer, and specific types of cancers through meta-analysis. And if you don't know what a meta-analysis is, that's a study of studies, okay? So basically what it means is that researchers pulled bunches of studies and used the data to sort of draw conclusions and to see if they could add power to the data by combining the data from lots of studies. So it's commonly done, and it's a good way to decide if something's worthwhile or not. So the next slide just shows that this group, they used Medline, Embase, the Cochrane Library, Google Scholar. This is where they got the data. So they pulled it from reliable sources, okay? And these are considered reliable scientific sources.
Okay.
The next slide just says basically 86 cross-sectional and 10 cohort prospective studies were included. So they used 96 studies. The overall analysis among the cross-sectional studies reported significant reduced levels of body mass index, total cholesterol, LDL cholesterol, and glucose levels in vegetarians and vegans as compared to omnivores, which is what we call somebody who eats everything, right?
Yeah.
So that would be meat eaters. It doesn't tell you how much meat they eat or anything like that. It's just saying, generally speaking, that you're healthier if you're using these criteria, such as total cholesterol, how obese we may or may not be, glucose levels, more or less likely to be diabetic, and we compare vegetarians and vegans compared to people that eat meat.
Right. Okay.
And the conclusion, and this is what's interesting. This comprehensive meta-analysis reports a significant protective of. Well, I don't know what's going on out there.
What was that?
It was Abby yelling at the dog or something. But
Right.
basically, a significant protective effect of a vegetarian diet versus the incidence and or mortality from ischemic heart disease by a reduction of over 25%. Incidence from total cancer, 8%. And if you look at a vegan diet, it had even a more significant reduced risk of 15% from all
Wow.
cancers, total cancers. So it was a pretty interesting study, interesting meta-analysis, but it just confirms what we already know, that if you eat a vegetarian or vegan diet, then you're going to be, your risk of being sick is lower.
Yeah.
So that is a more recent one. And then I went back and I looked for the information on. We have talked several times about the Seventh day Adventists and what a great group of people they've been to study, because apparently they're real good at answering questions and returning questionnaires as a group. And so I went on to the American Diabetes Association and looked at their on their diabetes care site, and I just put a little something up here about that.
Okay.
But they have a link to a famous study. This involves the Seventh day Adventists. And the title of the study is Type of Vegetarian Diet, Body Weight, and Prevalence of Type 2 Diabetes. So they didn't just look at people who ate meat versus people who didn't eat meat. They looked at lots of different parameters. And this study is quoted probably in every book that you read, from Proteinaholic to the China Study to Dr. Esselstyn's book and others on health through nutrition. Okay,
Yeah.
and so because the data is so well stratified, this particular article, and I think I probably have 10 slides on this one, so this one will take a bit more time, but the information is basically incontrovertible, and it is an amazing study. But type of vegetarian diet, body weight, and prevalence of type 2 diabetes, and then you can see the authors there if you want to read this article for yourself. The next slide up basically says the objective of this study, and this was not a meta-analysis, this was actually a study. They assessed the prevalence of type 2 diabetes in people following different types of vegetarian diets compared to
Ooh.
those that did not. Okay, so this is what I find interesting about this study, and I think why it's so often used in books, is because they do take and they do stratify out those that eat, those that are pure vegans, those that are lacto-ovo vegans, that is, they eat maybe they eat cheese and eggs, the pescatarians, which they call pesca vegetarians. Okay, so they're mostly vegetarian, but they also will, in addition to lacto-ovo, maybe they'll have fish as well. And then they add something called partial vegetarians, which I'm not exactly sure. I'm sure if we got into the research more, we could find out.
Uh-huh.
Versus non-vegetarians, which I guess at that time, or at the time of this study, was the regular person. This study was done in between 2002 and 2006, so it took them about 4 years to get the data. I've got the next slide up here, and the design of this study involved almost a little over 60,000 people, 22,434 men, 38,469 women, and these are the Seventh day Adventists. And the title of the study was the Adventist Health Study 2, and it was conducted between 2002 and 2006. They basically sent enormous questionnaires out to probably 100,000 people or more, and received back over 60,000 of them. So they didn't just ask them what they ate. They asked them how much TV they watched, how much alcohol they drank, how much time they spent reading, and lots of other lifestyle questions. So it was a very large questionnaire.
Excellent.
And they even categorized the type of vegetarian diets based on a frequency questionnaire. In other words, not just do you eat fish, but how often do you eat fish, for example.
Right.
And they used a multivariate adjusted logistical regression, which is probably the best way to determine if your data is meaningful or not. So let's get the next slide up on here. What they found was that the mean body mass index was lowest in vegans. Now that doesn't surprise us. And you guys remember what a body mass index is, right? That's a relationship between your weight and your height. And specifically, that's in kilograms per square meter. So even if we talk about BMI here using what we call standard or American or I guess English numbers,
So,
non-metric, I suppose I should say, right?
yeah.
It still calculates out using kilogram per square meter. That is the standard. So the mean body mass index was lowest in vegans, incrementally higher in lacto-ovo vegetarians, up to from 23.6 to 25.7, and then the pesco vegetarians, are what they called the pescatarians then, 26.3. The semi-vegetarians, which I'm not exactly sure what that criteria was, were 27.3, and then non-vegetarians were 28.8. To give you an example of how that compares today, and we're talking again almost data that's pushing 15 to 20 years old. The average BMI of a man in the United States today is 31. The average man in America is stage 1 obese. That's where we are in the United States, because the average weight of a man in America today is 210 pounds. The average height of a man in America today is 5'9". That has not changed over the years, but of course our body masses have, so that BMI keeps going up. The prevalence of type 2 diabetes in vegans was 2.9%, all the way up to the next level, 3.2% if you add in lacto-ovo. So if you're eating eggs and cheese, you go from 2.9 to 3.2%. If you eat fish also, then it jumps up to 4.8%. If you're something called a semi-vegetarian, then you're 6.1%. And then if you're not a vegetarian at all, if you don't consider yourself a vegetarian, then you're 7.6%. Now that's just the Seventh-day Adventist. To compare that today, we are pushing somewhere around 1 in 3. That's today close to 1/3 of all Americans are either diabetic or pre-diabetic and don't know about it. So just in the last 20 years, we've really progressed enormously in the body mass index, the average body mass index of an American. And I'm sorry, I mean, I translate this information across all Western countries, so I don't mean to exclude anybody, but I'm sure Canadians, Americans, Australians, New Zealanders, Western diets would all sort of be included in that. The next
Yeah.
slide I have is the main finding was that vegan and lacto-ovo vegetarian diets were associated with nearly 1/2 reduction. So you were half as likely to develop type 2 diabetes as compared to those who were eating a normal diet or a normal Western diet, again, almost 20 years ago. Pesco and semi-vegetarian diets, fish eaters, and whatever they're calling a semi-vegetarian diet, were associated with reduced risk as well of diabetes, but only between 1/3 or 1/4 less risk. These data indicate vegetarian diets may in part counteract the environmental forces leading to obesity, increased rates of type 2 diabetes. And this we know, but it's good to see the research too. Here's what's interesting. Only the vegan diets were associated with normal body mass index. And this was 15 years ago. Okay? Only vegan diets were associated with normal BMIs in this study.
Oh, that just that's ringing a massive bell, isn't it?
And then the last
Yeah.
slide, the inclusion of meat products, meat products, and fish in the diet, even, and this is really fascinating to me, even if it was less than once a week, all right? If you eat those products, it limits that protection of being a vegan or lacto-ovo vegetarian. They're saying they can explain that by the adverse effects directly of meat and fish, the protective effects of the typical constituents of vegan and lacto-ovo-vegetarian diets, or other characteristics of people who choose vegetarian diets, or a combination of these factors. So when you look at science, you have to say, is there really cause and effect here? What's the real cause here? The only conclusion you can draw is that the association is very strong, that the more animal product you consume, the more likely you are to be overweight and diabetic. The previous study that we saw, the more animal products that you eat, the more likely you are to have heart disease and cancer. So there's 2 research studies that sort of really talk about the things that we've talked about just about every time we've come on.
Yeah.
In that, people want to know, is it okay if I eat this thing, or is it okay if I eat that thing? Well, the answer is you can eat whatever you want, but the more animal products you consume, the more likely you are to be ill, and illnesses of all kinds. One of the areas I would have liked to have found, and I can look for more research in this area as time progresses, maybe for different talks, but I'd like to find more information about autoimmune diseases and their relationship to the consumption of animal products, and in particular multiple sclerosis, now that we know that it has a huge autoimmune component to MS. And we're thinking now too, as more research is being done, that more forms of dementia are related to specifically to diet. We do know that if you're obese, you are more likely to develop dementia. Remember, we talked about that on the previous talk as well. So it would not surprise me to find out later on that there is an autoimmune connection between obesity and dementia, increased risk of dementia. I don't know about Alzheimer's in particular. We think Alzheimer's is genetic. But like we talked about previously as well, not all genetic things that we're pre-programmed to have actually occur, because a lot of it, there are genes that have to be turned on and turned off based on your antimicrobial gut flora, right? So the numbers and kinds of bacteria that live within our bowels and our gut actually produce proteins that signal our genes to make or to not make proteins that then signal events to occur, such as, who knows, cancers, autoimmune problems, all kinds of things. So what we're learning is we have more and more data that shows that the more animal products that you eat, the sicker that you will be. There you go. So that was my contribution to today, was to pull out a couple of studies and say, talk about them if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a few comments. People are saying it was quite a Beverly's saying it was quite a jump in the numbers, and she's just put, leave flesh alone. And if only more people would get it. It's sad that it's not all over the news. I think you can find it there's quite a few videos about we could stop heart disease if only we didn't eat all this stuff. I don't know if it's fully plant-based, but over the years I've seen, particularly the last 3 years when I've been kind of trying to better myself and kind of be more healthy and just be the best version of myself. I've seen quite a few of things like that. So I think it's incredible how the numbers change, and I think it would be very interesting to find out about autoimmune disease, because there's so many of them, isn't there?
Oh, there are. You better believe there are, and we know categorically that there is a relationship. It may not be a 100% relationship, but there is a definite relationship between not only whether or not someone develops an autoimmune disease, but the severity thereof. So,
But they're saying to thank you very much for preparing all that information for them. Just let's discuss it. What do you think about it? Who do you think needs to know this? It's up to us to spread the word, get more and more people on here. Beverly, is it Beverly saying that somebody's saying that their pain meds are down, or I can't remember. Somebody said something, but Beverly's arthritis is much better.
Wonderful.
So that's just amazing. Hi, Carrie. Hi, Elena. Hi, Bev. Hi, Core. Hi, everybody who's come on since I said I didn't want to be waving to you while Dr. Gilmore was giving us all that information, because I wanted you to be able to hear it because it's important.
Well, I wanted to put it at the beginning of the discussion too, so that if somebody wanted to go back and watch it, they wouldn't have to scroll all the way through to try to find, like we did the one talk, the benefits of fasting, and we sort of strung it out over the full 90 minutes. You'd have to watch the whole thing to get. So I was like, oh, we'll just do it all up front, and that way anybody that wants to, basically go through it, they can. And that's an abbreviation of those studies. By no means is that the complete study. I mean, those are little abstracts from those studies. So, but it does get the story out that you're more likely to be within your normal body mass, and you're more likely to not have diabetes, and you're more likely not to have heart disease, and you're more likely to yada yada yada. If you avoid the animal products. And in 2002, you were less likely to have a processed animal product than you are today, right? So we do know that the processing of the food of the animal products has increased probably exponentially in the last 15 to 20 years. And unfortunately, some of the plants as well have become more genetically modified, and so there's lots and lots of changes that are occurring to our food supply and what we're putting into our bodies, and they are affecting how we feel and how we behave in many cases, and our memory and our mood, all of those things. But those of us that have made the change to a whole food plant-based diet and are working hard to eliminate processed foods from our diet, I think it's basically at this point we're even seeing more and more public figures that are coming out saying, I don't eat any animal products. I'm a vegan, and they'll tell you their biggest struggle now is staying away from the processed foods, because you can be a vegan and still get a lot of processed vegan foods. So there you go. I mean, that's the real struggle that I have is staying away from those processed things. Like if I want to have a lentil soup, and that sounds really healthy, but I've got to be real careful about what's in that can, right? How much sodium is in there, and are there preservatives? And that's not ideal. It's a lot better than having a hot dog, right? I mean, it's a lot better than a chili cheese dog with fries from a restaurant nearby, but it's still not ideal. So there's still room for improvement, but my health is so much dramatically improved from a year ago when I started this journey, that it's worth for me to continue to put the effort into learning to eat right, and being very careful about what foods I select to eat on a regular basis. So, so we all have to be vigilant about what we're eating and try to get that food as close to its origin as possible. But a lot of us we're busy. We're all busy, and we all we don't have. We have the knowledge, but we don't always have the quick accessibility to the healthier versions of the foods. So we've just got to work harder at it, make more trips to the market, or to the fruit stand, or the vegetable stand, and get involved with the farmers markets and things like that, where the kids are standing there and they're all dirty because they pulled them up out of the ground that morning. Those are the ones I like to see. They've got the van and they've got the kids, and they're all dirty because they're all working together to bring those vegetables in. I mean, from that morning. Those are the ones I want right there. I don't care if they are more expensive.
Exactly, and it is so true. It's I think there's the processed foods. I have been using quite a few processed vegan foods, particularly with the fridge out. So 2 more days till I get the fridge. But I think, like that lentil soup that you said that you really liked.
I do, yeah.
Find a recipe, look at the ingredients on the can that you like. It will have herbs and spices in it that add to the flavor that you like. and make a big pot, or get Abby to make a big pot of it for you. Then just freeze it in little pots. So then whenever you want something instant, you can just, you know, cook up something that you've made. And that's what I'm going to do with my freezer. I'm literally going to fill it with things that when I'm being lazy or like in a hurry and I haven't got time to chop lots of things up and, you know, faff about, I can just get something straight away right out of the freezer and have it up really quickly. Although I've had the lovely Anna staying with me. We've spent 2 days at an expo called The Best You. So it was loads of different things really, but I didn't really know what it was going to be, but it was great fun, and we met some really fantastic people, an awful lot of vegans there, because they're trying to do the best for themselves and be the best them, you know, grow their mindsets and stuff. And they had a vegan stand there, and it wasn't like the same old stuff. We were there 2 days, and they had, I think, 4 different vegan wraps, and they had little pots of edamame beans with, you know, avocado, or if they had kind of a really nice one with sesame oil and ground carrots, and absolutely delicious. And they had, I think they were all wraps actually, the vegan ones. And then the next day they had another completely different selection. And I was really impressed, because normally when you go to these massive events, like it was at Olympia, Madge will know Olympia. It's where we have like the dog show and, you know, all of that stuff, and all those car shows and boat shows and stuff. So one of those big places, you usually just get a whole lot of tat. In fact, we kind of thought that we would just fast because we wouldn't find anything to eat. But there was loads to eat. You know, there was a chicken place as well, and in fact we got a lot. Apart from one of these wraps, everything I've eaten for the last 2 days has been raw. So I've eaten loads of fruit and loads of like salads. And we actually called up Chef Alicia, who a lot of you will remember. And she sends her regards to you. She always goes, "How's the duck doing, Sue?" And I was like, "He's doing brilliant. He's like stopped his soda straight away from that moment." "Oh, that is so awesome. Oh, I'm so proud of him. Tell him hi." So she says hello. But we were wondering what to do with the few bits of food that I had in the house. And we bought a mango, and we made this salad dressing, which was a mango whizzed up with some cilantro, I think you call it. We call it coriander. Lime juice, a whole mango, 1.5 limes. We had to do that because my limes are a bit old and they weren't very juicy. So normally 1 lime, like a pinch of coriander, fresh coriander. And we grated some fresh ginger into it. We just stuck it into the blitzer, whizzed it up, and then we just poured it all over all of our, you know, with loads of bell peppers in there. You'd have been.
Oh, I love those. I had a bell pepper for lunch today. Yeah.
Yeah. I've had a red and a green pepper for supper tonight, and loads of spinach as well, and tomatoes. Yeah, you would have liked that. Tomatoes and bell peppers, your favourite.
Mm-hmm.
So we've eaten a lot of that kind of thing, and it was amazing how easy it was to make the salad feel really luxurious by just whizzing up a bit of fruit and a little bit of this and that and sticking it in. It was absolutely delicious. And if you've never had mango with lime juice squeezed over it, it is just a match made in heaven. The 2 flavors together are, they're just like, it's like a new food. Absolutely wonderful.
Fabulous.
So yeah, and what I found is I had a headache today. You know, I said I don't get headaches.
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, seems I've had 2 in the last 2 weeks for my annual headache. And I realised, because I've eaten raw and I've drunk a lot of water, not so much making of herbal tea and stuff, my body's probably throwing out some toxins, even though I eat a healthy diet. It's probably throwing out some toxins from some of the, you know, processed vegan food that I've been eating. So that's probably all it is. So it wasn't much of a headache. It was a bit like a Yeah, just a little bit of a here, but that's it.
You gotta be careful with preservatives. A lot of the preservatives will cause headache, and also look out for monosodium glutamate or MSG, especially if you get Asian dishes. I notice those tend to have some MSG in them, so you have to kind of watch out for that.
So on MSG, because I've always avoided it, and because you can actually, if you go to a Chinese restaurant, you can ask them to make it without MSG.
And
So,
sometimes they'll just smile and tell you no because they've got the food pre-made, or sometimes
well,
they won't. They just won't tell you. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Well, yeah, my they make it all fresh. There's a few things that have it in it already, like the lemon sauce will have it in it, and the
Right.
curry sauce will have it in it. In some of the dishes, you can't avoid it, but they don't add any. Because I used to get really, I'd have a Chinese, and the next morning my eyes would be like could
Watering.
hardly see
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So I've avoided it pretty much for about 15 years. And then I watched a study about how it wasn't, it was just salt. It wasn't,
Right.
any kind of mad thing that was like really dangerous, and it just added flavor and blah 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 blah. So
It's
I've
a
I've
it's a
actually
trigger for
asked.
migraines for some people though.
Oh, is
Oh
it
yes,
right?
MSG is a well-known migraine trigger for many people. So people that have it as a trigger, they know because they've experienced it, and it's usually a rather quick turnaround from the time they eat the MSG or containing food and develop the migraine. So it's one of those where it's really easy. Like some people that eat chocolate will get a migraine strictly from the chocolate, and that's usually a quick connection for them to make because it happens so soon. So they learn right away to avoid those things. But they'll go. They can almost always tell you that they have to avoid Asian food restaurants almost 100% because the information oftentimes, and I don't mean to be critical toward any particular group or anything like that, but even if they tell you, oh yeah, there's no MSG in this, there is some because they're using it in the restaurant, and just like Robin just said, it's easy to cross contaminate with the MSG. So even though they don't intend to put it in the food because they have it in the restaurant, it tends to get into so much that it's almost impossible to eliminate it, even if you ask for a dish to not be made with MSG.
Right. That's really good to know. I had no idea.
Hmm.
So if any of you didn't know, then I know some of you suffer from migraines, and some of you are probably having a lot less migraines now. But yeah, Carrie has said that she's been sensitive to MSG for years, since a little girl. Oh my goodness me, there's loads more comments here that I've missed.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, MSG is sort of for those that try to avoid preservatives and additives. It's going to be high on their list.
yeah,
It's
they're
a
all
it
saying it.
yeah, it's a trigger. It's kind of a trigger point for a lot of people. So I would say for those trying to eat a whole food plant based diet, if you avoid MSG, you're probably doing well.
I absolutely, absolutely, yeah. So I'm going to start getting them to take it out again. I find if it's not in there, because you just get so ravenously thirsty after a Chinese meal. That's what I find. So yeah, there
Mm.
probably is a lot of salt in it.
But you're 100% right. MSG really amplifies taste. You can buy a shaker of MSG
Mm,
right at your supermarket. And if you ever want to really know what MSG does to food, the next time you make a meal, buy some MSG and sprinkle some MSG on there and see if that flavor doesn't pop because it does. But that doesn't mean it's good for you, but it
yeah,
definitely makes the flavor pop.
yeah, yeah.
So
That's absolutely true. It does, and it's something our taste buds are used to because if we've been eating processed food, it's got a lot of salt and a lot of sugar in it because our taste buds we're programmed to like salt, sugar, and fat. So anything that's salty, sugary, fatty, we tend to think is lovely. Jackie, MSG is monosodium glutamate, and it's added in abundance to Asian food, so that they'll add it to your Chinese food. A lot of people above in the comments, if you scroll back, have said that they have to be careful. Debs has to be careful with MSG. Sika, MSG gives her a migraine. Carrie, she always asks if they can eliminate it. Yeah, interesting. Beverly's saying, I get headaches now because I have to remind myself to eat, Dr. Gilmore. I've found food is no longer in my life.
I wish I had that problem.
You need to get your heads together, you two, to
Yeah.
see if you can cross-pollinate those thought
Oh my
processes.
goodness. Yes.
Well, from being from a person that's like always like, what am I going to eat? What am I going to eat? What, always like thinking about the next meal and eating and snacking and eating and like food as a comfort.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that was you, Beverly, but the fact that you said, because food is kind of no longer the whole of your life or your life, actually you have to remind yourself to eat. So I would say, always have with you a canister like this, which you can fill with water. Okay. So, and if you just carry it about with you, I find I drink much more if I have something like this, because this kind of sipping from a straw or clicking it open and having a sip, I don't know, it's much more conducive to me actually consuming liquid than having a glass by me. And you can stick it in your pocket if you're walking about, or chuck it in your handbag if you're whizzing down the shops or getting in the car or doing anything. You can just have it with you all the time. And of course, because it's a permanent thing, you don't have to use lots of nasty plastic bottles. So I reckon you'd get less headaches if you were drinking more, because, you can fast all day. So I reckon you might be forgetting to drink as well, Beverly. Am I right? Right, what's Madge saying? Sue, on February the 29th, 9 p.m. on ITV, Dr. Michael Mosley has a program exploring how junk food affects 4 healthy people. The outcome was that they all had to stop because the damage was getting so dangerous. Oh my goodness me.
That reminds me of that show Super Size Me. If you haven't seen
Yeah.
Super Size Me, that's an amazing show.
Wasn't that incredible?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You watch what eating in McDonald's and just eating burgers and fries and those kinds of things does to his blood work, his cholesterol, his lipids, his everything is just amazing.
Yeah.
And then when his girlfriend gets him back on I guess they were vegan, right? A vegan diet. Everything returns back to normal, healthy levels, and that's just it's
Yeah.
as clear an example as there is of the danger of what's become of a Western diet.
Yeah. And if you just eat fast food, because a lot of people do just eat fast food, and they're not inclined to pick up an apple. You can buy apples in most corner shops, or I don't know what, we have like little corner shops or lake
Convenience
shops.
stores, yeah.
Convenience stores. Okay, yeah.
They tend to sell bananas at ours for some reason in this area. I've noticed they all have a little basket with a banana. They charge
Yeah.
too much for them, but I always buy them because I want to encourage them to put the bananas out there for people to buy. Just I want to really support that. I was like, yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
Your bananas are overpriced, but I'm buying them because I really appreciate you putting fruit out here as an option, because you got this whole store full of Fritos and chips and candies and all that, and they're all packaged up. And then right here, right at the counter, right at the register is usually where they'll put it. They've got this little basket, and there'll be some bananas of different levels of ripeness, and like how much for the bananas? 75 cents. I'll take 2.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that. Whenever I see it, I
Yes,
try to
I am.
reward the behavior.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to see that as well. But I suppose if you've got your basket full of, trash, a lot of people wouldn't think to pick up the apple. So if you're in the habit of eating convenience food, fast food, snacking on chocolate and popcorn and stuff like that, fruit doesn't feel appealing. I remember when I used to just eat all sorts of stuff like that, and I wasn't a vegan, and I would eat a lot of rubbish in the evening, watching TV, ice cream, and all sorts of stuff. And even though there might be fruit in the house, I wouldn't choose to eat it because, bowl of popcorn seemed to be much more like what I wanted to be eating. Plus it makes such a noise when you're chewing an apple, you can't hear the telly. but that wasn't my reason for not having one in a former version of myself. So it is really good that they're starting to do that. Hi, Robin babes. Pizza Hut used to be, so monosodium glutamate. Right, what are you saying about Pizza Hut? Used to use a lot. What of MSG? Pizza Hut? Not that I eat in Pizza Hut, but I really thought it was kind of, a Chinese restaurant thing. Gosh, that's shocking. Really, really is shocking. So I guess you were saying, we don't really need to eat or add any salt to anything, do we?
You really don't. You really don't. If you are on a diuretic, if you're on a blood pressure pill that is either mainly a diuretic or has as a component a diuretic, and you adopt a vegan diet, you need to let your doctor know, because a lot of times you can actually become sodium deficient if you're not careful. So yeah, one of the things I tell people that do take blood pressure medicines, and they come in and they say, well, my blood pressure is running high or it's running low, is like, are you sure this is the right medicine for me? Well, here's the thing. When we select a medicine for you, we sort of assume that you're going to be doing about the same thing you do on a regular basis. If you make a dramatic change to your diet or your lifestyle, you need to let us know so we can adjust around that. If all of a sudden you take a job and you're working in a warehouse that's not air conditioned and you're in this Houston heat, you're going to sweat so much that if we give you a diuretic, you may actually become hypotensive. You may actually become faint. So we might want to stop the diuretic, while you're doing that job, and use a different medicine perhaps, or maybe you won't need a blood pressure medicine while you're doing that job. So if your lifestyle changes, let your doctor know. But I've had some patients, especially it seems like elderly patients, as they get older, they stop adding salt for some reason, and I find more and more of them with low sodium levels, and we've got to rework their blood pressure medicines because of it. And a lot of times they'll say, oh yeah, I gave up salt a year and a half ago. I just didn't tell you. It's like, well, I have you on a diuretic that's making you excrete salt. So we've depleted your sodium reserves. And you might think, well, that's good, right? Well, to a degree, yeah, it is good. But you can actually have too little salt to where it can put you at risk for problems there, too. So, if you make a big change, let your doctor know. That's all I'll say, especially if you're on a medicine. Otherwise, if you're not on a medication, you don't need to worry about it. You don't need to worry that you're getting enough salt, because you're probably going to get a little bit of salt here or there. We can talk about iodine. We really don't have a lot of sources of iodine. So if you go completely zero salt, you can actually have your doctor measure an iodine level to make sure that you have enough iodine. Iodine is essential for normal thyroid function. Here in America, and I'm pretty sure in the UK as well, we add iodine to salt, and so we don't seem to have any iodine deficiency. Surprise, surprise, since we all we get plenty of salt and everything. But if you go on a salt-free diet, that actually could become a factor. But I'm pretty sure that with a whole food plant-based diet, you get enough iodine. I believe that there were a couple of veggies that we looked at that had iodine, so. We can look more into that later as we go if we'd like as well, or if somebody can look it up now if they want. But I'm pretty sure there was one or two food items that were fairly common with a vegan diet that had some iodine. But if you're going to make a big change, like giving up salt and animal products, and you're on a lot of medicines, you should let your doctor know if you're on a bunch of meds that, hey, I'm going to make a dramatic change in my diet. And I think it could positively affect my health to the point where I may not need as many of these medications. When do you recommend I come back in for a checkup? When would you like to check my labs? And if they say, 6 months is fine, say, you know what, how about 12 weeks? Because that's when they should see big changes.
Yeah.
Sometimes earlier than that, but by 12 weeks for sure.
Well, I think all of you here would definitely put a thumbs up for the changes that you've experienced in 12 weeks. I mean, Beverly got rid of her type 2 diabetes in 12 weeks for a start.
And we saw what Chrissy did with her vitamin D level in 30 days.
Yeah, absolutely amazing it was. Hi, Carol, sweetheart. A lot of them are saying that they're really glad that they don't like fast food, and that's fantastic. I really haven't eaten a lot of fast food in my life, so I'm kind of very thankful for that. Yeah, Carrie is saying that you're giving excellent advice right here. That's fantastic. Nobody salts my food, but they do notice other foods not prepared by me are very salty. There we go. So Carrie doesn't cook with salt, and everything else that other people, other things that other people prepare, they find very salty. So yeah, I've had to send food back in restaurants because it is it's so salty. It's like eating salt. It's just like absolutely like what did he trip over when he salted that and put half a bucket on it? Obviously, I don't say that to them, but sometimes it's just inedible because it's so salty. And
Here's some iodine. Ladybug Grandma, who I have not seen before, welcome, said and has said seaweed has iodine. I know some people that like those real thin, dry seaweed. I don't like them at all because they smell like dead squid to me. To me, they smell like bait. Okay, but but Robin says lima beans and prunes, and those are the ones that I had seen before. But I remember seaweed has a lot of iodine too.
yeah,
But yeah, prunes especially and lima beans have lots of iodine. So there
yeah,
you go. So if you're eating a whole food plant based diet, you should get some lima beans once in a while, and maybe some prunes are a good idea as well.
vegan sushi because they wrap that they use those sheets to wrap their sushi in, don't they?
Yeah, I guess they do.
Yeah, Beverly is saying tastes like fishing bait. I'm still chuckling.
It's the smell, and one of the nurse practitioners, she eats the little seaweed stuff, and it smells like a dock to me. It does. It's
A little bit
awful.
fishy.
It
Well, I
does.
guess it's seaweed, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's going to. Beverly said she is also off her high blood pressure meds and dizziness is 80% better. OMG, she's got in capital letters.
Wonderful.
That is fantastic. Everyone's congratulating her. Oh, and the lovely Vanessa Argo, she didn't get notified we were on again. I really don't know what's going on. We talked about that at the beginning of this video. You have to click the bell, and then there are some options that you can switch on, be notified when this channel goes live.
Yeah.
I think some of you get notifications if I just put a video up, but you don't get notifications when I go live, which is why I've put a video up before this in the hope that you get notified and then realise. So I'm sorry about that, V. How you doing, babes? So Carrie is saying, yes, seaweed is excellent for you, but gross.
Yes. So Deb's just sent me. She said potatoes. Bananas has a little. A half a cup corn has 14 micrograms. Cranberries seem to be a good source of iodine, and
That's,
strawberries, and then lots of things that come from the ocean, like kelp,
yeah,
alaria, dulse, lava. I
yeah.
don't know what this stuff is.
No. Carrie said that her mother's Irish and they love it as a snack. Kelp. Oh, that's what
Okay.
kelp is. Kelp is like seaweed as well. It's really, and there's this other thing called, totally going to forget it, but when I was staying with my friends who live they live on the mainland, but it's so remote that no mobile phones work there, and their drive is 7 miles long. It's just in the middle of nowhere, and the air is so pure in this place because there's no cars, there's nothing going on, that it's 98% pure, and it's the only place in the world that these certain mosses grow because it's so pure there. Anyway, we went on the beach, and we were looking for ages for this particular seaweed, and it looks like Oh, I'm not even going to tell you what it looks like now. I'm just rubbish, aren't I? But anyway, it's oh, I can't remember what it's called, but they actually now sell it in supermarkets here. It's incredibly expensive because someone has to walk a beach and look for it. It's only like tiny. It's like, it's like these little kind of tufts, like little, I don't know. It grows in a formation a bit like those cactus you see in westerns. It grows in that kind of formation, but it's kind of a flat, kind of tiny little thing, and it's like a succulent, and it's really tasty, but it is very salty, but it's really, really tasty. Somebody's going to
Mm.
know what it's called. They're all saying yuck about the seaweed.
Yeah, I tried it. It didn't work for me. That's all there is to it. Anyway.
This, so Jackie saying it's awful with all the knobbly bits in kelp, and kale is also disgusting. I love kale.
I like kale. I like kale if it's juiced or if it's cooked. I don't really like raw kale that much.
No,
I don't like the texture. I don't like the texture.
it's the texture for you, is it? I find it a bit hot and peppery. Like,
Really, the kale?
well, like really, really greens, if you eat them raw, they're a bit kind of like not as nice as like eating cauliflower raw or, other types of cabbage leaves. I find it's a bit kind of, it's a bit intense. It's a bit in your face raw,
Mm.
but I like it. If you can cook it really gently. In fact, I must do a recipe for that. Kale chips.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
they're like they just crunch into your mouth. You put them in the oven, um, and the trick is for them not to go black, burnt, and not to be soggy in the middle. And you just, of course, you put a little bit of oil on it, but you also put a little bit of salt on it. But you don't have to put the little bit of salt on it. They are really delicious. But smoothies is a great way to get kale in your diet because kale it's a superfood. It's
It is.
absolutely brilliant for you. It's just like
Just
you
like
want to have
chia
it in your
seeds.
diet.
Chia seeds are a superfood too. Chia seeds and kale, and there are lots of them that are probably best eaten if they're somehow processed by you. I wouldn't buy pre-processed foods in those areas, but if you get them as whole foods and then you put them in your own blender, or what did you call it? A blitzer? You called it a blitzer earlier. I
I
just
call it a whizzer.
well, I think you said if you put it in the blitzer and whiz it
Oh,
up.
yeah, blitz it
I'm
up.
gonna rewatch this video. I'm pretty sure you said blitzer.
Blitzer. It is a phrase that I have been known to
All right,
use.
so I'm pretty sure I heard you say blitzer, but I'm sure you
Yeah,
meant blender and whizzer kind of together,
yeah.
blitzer.
But you
But
do
yeah,
you.
yeah, put them.
Oh no, I would have done. You put it all in together and you blitz it, and
Okay.
I think the saying comes from the war, the
Oh,
Blitz. The
blitzkrieg.
war is when everything was bombed and just like smashed to pieces.
Right, right.
So I think that's where the phrase must come from. But blitz it up. So we do use that. But yeah, if you put raw kale in to your smoothies or your protein shakes, it doesn't taste like you've got any vegetables in there, unless of course you've only got vegetables in there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've got some fruits and some berries, you've got your protein powder, or you've got different fruits and stuff in there, and you've got chia seeds. You stick some kale in there, and some real dark green veggies. It is so powerful, so full of. It's just so good for you, and you can't taste it. So that's a way of getting around. Bit like those of you who don't like avocados. You can make chocolate mousse in your whizzer in your blender.
Oh, who
Um,
doesn't like avocados? Come on.
oh, there's the I made the one of the
That
first recipes I made was quinoa flatbread,
that's a
and I made guacamole, and I had a load of I hate
oh.
avocados, and I
Then
was
you're
like,
not eating it right. You need to come to Texas and have some guacamole before you rule out avocados. Come on.
yeah.
That's just not even right. Yeah, I don't see how you can possibly be a whole food plant based eater and not enjoy avocados. That's just,
They're just like such a staple.
they really
They're,
are.
they are because they're creamy. It's a source of fat. They are filling. You can make desserts with them. Samphire. Yes, Sandy, you superstar. It's called samphire. That seaweed I was talking about that grows on the beach. Thank
Sandfire?
you. Samphire,
Uh huh.
Samphire, and it is a superfood. It's
Okay.
really, really good for you.
Okay.
Uh, she blitzes it up and whizzes it around. Debs is saying they're all taking the mickey out of me now. Kale salad with apple, cranberries, and walnuts with a tangerine dressing. You see, Carrie, that sounds
It
delicious.
does. And I
So
would probably throw all of that in the blender and with some apple chunks and maybe some walnuts and just blitz it up.
blitz it up and
I
just
would
mess
blitz
it.
it up.
Woof. Gone. That's right. Carrie said avocado is nature's butter. It is. It's lovely.
And
Elena said
along with
guacamole is gross.
cashew butter. Yes.
Cashew butter. Elena, is it you that hates avocados? Because she doesn't like tomatoes either. So she's got a double yuck whammy there with guacamole.
Oh wow, really?
Stay
Yeah.
away from the guacamole. Do you know what? Some of you guys, and I feel so sorry for you. My heart goes out to you. It bleeds for you. Some of you don't like Brussels sprouts.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
They're
I like
delicious. You
vegetables.
have to
I
bake
know.
them.
I know.
You
Half the
bake
world
them.
doesn't like them.
You bake your Brussels sprouts. You slice them and you put them in the oven. Get the DW that she makes them. They're wonderful. She sprinkles something on
Yeah.
them. I don't know what it is. They're delicious though.
Yeah. Even Wink said it was bearable, and he hates Brussels sprouts
Have you
with a
done?
passion.
Have you made baked or baked cauliflower for him yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's fabulous. Oh, it's
I-
fantastic. I was so
Oh,
surprised the first time I had that. I thought, wait a minute, what is this and why have I not had this before? Yeah, Deb's mentioned you air fry them too, but you put them on a pan just like you would the Brussels sprouts, just
yeah.
little florets of the cauliflower,
Florets.
right? Not
Yeah. Love
chlorets, not the
words.
chlorette, florets, right? And you just
Florets.
lay them out there and sprinkle a little maybe Lowry's. You might ask the DW. She can probably tell you what she puts on, but you bake it up about the same way, and it is fabulous. I mean,
Fabulous.
it's incredible.
Yeah,
So,
I bet it is. I think there's a recipe that I followed. It was from the Roux brothers for some soiree I was having in my 20s in my flat in London, and I think it took us 2 days to cook up some morsels that were literally gone in 30 seconds. I couldn't believe it. But one of the things was deviled nuts, which are like
oh,
these. They're really delicious. You have to put curry powder in them and like a balance of spices and herbs basically,
mm-hmm.
and you put oil over them, and cover them, toss them in this kind of oil and thick spice mixture, lay them out on a baking sheet, and you just gently bake them, and then they're like these
Yeah,
roasted nuts. So the crunch on them is really different. It's like a dry kind of clean crunch, and the flavor is just awesome.
yeah.
And I reckon
Core
you
just
can do
mentioned
the
that
exact
that
same thing with
that she
cauliflower.
Core just mentioned that she hated Brussels sprouts before she ever had them oven roasted, and I would say I never really liked them much until I had them oven roasted either. I would agree. But anyway, I'm sorry. I think I
Yeah.
interrupted you. I apologize.
No, 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 that's absolutely right. Even Wink said that they were passable when they were baked. So, and they taste completely different.
They do.
Absolutely. And raw. Somebody said, "Oh, they're great raw." So I've never really eaten a Brussels sprout raw, like an apple, and they were gorgeous.
Hmm.
So Elena doesn't like them because her granny would always was boil them forever. That's what we did in the 60s. They boiled vegetables for about half an hour. Goodness knows. We're all alive though. But then she would put vinegar on them. Oh, that's just not floating my boat at all.
Well,
No wonder you don't like them.
balsamic vinegar is fabulous. But you put balsamic vinegar on just about anything. I put it on salads instead of vinaigrette. And you save about 400 calories by doing that. You get the same taste, but you don't get the oil. So I
Yeah.
keep balsamic vinegar at the office. So when if we have a pharmaceutical rep that brings us a suitable salad, i.e., it has no cheese already mixed all the way in it, right? And
Yeah.
I'll put some of that on a plate, and I go get my own balsamic vinegar and shake it on there and eat it. It's fabulous.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I've made. I use the coconut. What's it called? Bechamel sauce that my sister sent me today in my supper, because Jackie has said that she loves cauliflower with cheese sauce, and obviously a lot of us here aren't eating cheese now, but I can imagine that bechamel sauce made out of coconut would be absolutely delicious.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm going to mess about with because you can pre-roast these vegetables, and then you can have them as cold snacks, just like a savory snack. You know, like a. In fact, today I decided, because I've heard of all these people going, "Oh, I've just had a spiced latte or something with their nut milks." So I thought I would do them. I've got a mix of herbs and spices that I have. Oh, hang on, don't know what I've done to my hair there. Um, Things like nutmeg, cinnamon, allspice, um, cardamom pods, all kind of mixed up in a spice, and the yellow one, turmeric, or turmeric, as I think you call it. Um, and I had a cup of this today, and all it was, I just heated up some cashew nut milk, and I just put a teaspoon of my mix, my herb mix,
Mm-hmm.
and turmeric in it, and I just stirred it up, and it was really nice. So I was having just like a giant load of spices that are really good for you. There were no herbs in it; it was all spices. So all the spices, that we've gone through before. Cinnamon is really good for you, and stuff. And I let Finian have a taste of it, because I said, I think you might like this actually, Finian,
Mm.
and he did quite like it. So there was no
Huh.
coffee in there. There was no sugar in there. It was just nut milk with spices. So I think I'm going to perfect that recipe.
Was it
Uh,
unflavored nut milk or did it have vanilla?
no, unflavored. It's just cashew nut milk.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to try and make some of my own nut milks, because I've had the lovely Anna here, and she's a lot more discerning about what ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
She's more raw than I. She's mostly raw, but she still has some fallbacks as well. And she pointed out what percentage of cashew nuts was in my cashew nut milk, and it's only 3.5% cashew nuts. So I'm just thinking it might just be better to whiz up a cup of nuts with a load of water, and then I'd have the pulp. I could make something else with. I don't know what I could do with that, but I'm sure I could find something to do with it as well.
Well, you always
Uh,
have the option of giving it to the pigs, so
yes,
the pigs
I
will
always.
appreciate it. I'm
Yeah, they will. They always like it. So wouldn't go to waste. It wouldn't go
right,
to waste, sure. But
right.
uh, yeah, it was like a chai coffee, Robin, what I made, without any coffee in it. Although I did have a friend of mine who's been a raw vegan for a long time. Um, she gave me, it's called Dandy Blend, and it is coffee which is made from dandelion roots, and
Mm-hmm.
it does actually taste like coffee. It tastes
Right.
like instant coffee
Mm-hmm.
rather than fresh coffee, like freshly ground coffee. But it does taste like coffee. So, and you have it's good for you. It's good for you, which is really good. So,
Although I
there's
don't
some.
think coffee is necessarily bad for us. I think coffee's fine. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know. I've not seen any research that says there's anything wrong with coffee. In fact, there's a lot of good uh, information about coffee. Where I think we get in trouble with coffee is what we add to it.
yeah,
But I've started appreciating coffee more for the taste of the coffee itself. Now that I've become vegan, and we do our fasting days, especially. You just get tired of looking for the stevia or something to sweeten it up a little bit. So I just drink it black. And
yeah.
now the little convenience store next to us, they have different blends that they'll put out in the mornings, and for $1.07, I get a tall cup of a Mexican blend coffee, which I think is fantastic. Just the coffee with nothing in it, just the coffee itself.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I'll go over and get that in the morning, and because I just like the taste. It's just got such a wonderful aroma. I don't know, what it is about it that makes it different. It's just a blend of coffees,
Yeah.
but I don't think coffee in and of itself is bad per se. I think that where we get in trouble with coffees, if you're trying to be whole food plant based, is the creamers and the sugars and the flavorings and the
Yeah.
whips and all that you add on to it. That turns a $1 coffee, which by the way used to be 10 cents, right? The $1 coffee into a $6 coffee,
Yeah.
upon which Starbucks has been built, right? I mean,
Yeah. They saw a lot of mugs. Another yes, couldn't resist that one. But yeah, they've made an absolute fortune out of coffee.
right?
But I think the issue with coffee is a lot of people are addicted to them and have a lot of coffee, and you can end up having way too much caffeine. If you drink too many coffees, you can be kind of like wired. And that's
Oh
something
yeah.
that I really learnt starting working in the shop, and all these lattes appearing, and me with my almond milks, they all do almond milk, so I was like, I can join in too.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a bit kind of like it's a bit full on, I was like, I just I was a bit kind of like punch drunk with it, really.
Mm.
And I suddenly thought, oh gosh, yeah, I've had about 6 coffees today.
Well, good
So
grief, woman! No wonder.
well, yeah, exactly. But that was like, they were like a treat because I hadn't had any coffees for ages. Yeah, Jackie's going, no. Yeah, I know. So that's why, if like you were fasting and you wanted some flavour and you drank coffees all day, I think you could be having a bit of a jitterbug sort of
Yeah, I don't think
state.
that's. I wouldn't recommend that. I would say, if you want a cup of coffee in the morning and you're used to having a cup of coffee in the morning, then have it. Just have it black. Don't put any sugar in it. You don't want to add calories to it. But
No.
coffee's kind of a 0 calorie item, so you can have that and maybe have a tea or two in the afternoon if you like. But um,
Yeah.
yeah, I would say 6 cups would be excessive, and you'd probably not feel good. Remember back to college days where you try to pull an all nighter, and we used to pop those no dose caffeine pills to try to stay up
Yeah,
all night
pro
and
plus.
study.
Yeah,
Ridiculous. It was ridiculous because then you just end up sick for your
yeah,
test, right? You just
yeah.
feel terrible.
The things we did,
Yeah.
the things we thought were good ideas, passed down from other idiot teenagers to
Right.
other idiot teenagers. Yeah, it's funny actually, because I I decided I was only going to have one coffee, and I thought I would have an extra shot in it, because when I always get the biggest one possible, because
Mm-hmm.
it lasts me all day. I sip away at it. I don't mind drinking it cold. I drink most of my drinks cold because I forget they're there. It's like lifetime habit, cold drinks. So I said, oh, and I'll have an extra shot. And he said, are you sure about that? And I said, oh, why? Well, I've had it before. And he said, it's just because the latte's got 3 shots in it already. So, you're not just getting one shot of coffee with these great big drinks. They're putting like loads of coffee in it. And like a flat white already has two or 3 shots in it. So that's just like a real like stand up like a
Yeah.
coffee, anyway. So yeah, so I try not to drink too much coffees, and I certainly, because my body is a temple now. um, I haven't had coffee for a long time. I've got an espresso machine, and it'll be 2 years this November that's just gone past since we bought any pods for it. And I only ever used to buy decaf anyway. and I don't really drink a lot of coffee. So I've really noticed, because I always used to say, oh, coffee doesn't keep me up. No, I don't. Nothing keeps me up. If I want to go to bed, I fall asleep very quickly. It's just that I don't like going to bed very much, because it's much more fun doing stuff than having to go to sleep. But yeah, so coffee can, yes, really give you a bit of a jolt. Jolt soda with twice the caffeine and sugar. Those were the 90s. Lol. That's what Elena's saying.
Right.
Jolt soda. Right. Okay. So I'm just looking at some of the comments. Robin was saying also the type of coffee and how it's brewed from fresh ground beans can make a huge difference. Yeah, because instant coffee has a lot of chemical caffeine in it.
Oh,
So
definitely, definitely. I completely agree with that. From a physician standpoint, I've also advised my patients with asthma, if they're having an acute asthma attack and they can't find their inhaler, that black coffee is actually a very good bronchodilator. Oh,
really,
absolutely. It's a phosphodiesterase inhibitor. It will actually cause bronchodilation. So, coffee is a backup bronchodilator for asthmatics, and that's absolutely true.
wow. It's also a huge diuretic, and you
Yes,
will
it
go
is.
to the toilet a lot.
It
So
can
I
dehydrate you.
I used to like if I used to sell computers in the 80s, and I'd go and meet my clients, and they would always offer you tea or coffee or whatever, and I could never make it out of a 45-minute meeting without having to ask to use their toilet, if I had coffee. And it was just like you feel, and then they might give you another coffee and you'd have another one, and then you'd have to ask to go again if you had a bit of a long meeting, and then you felt really embarrassed that you kept going, oh sorry, can I just use your toilet again please? It's just like, and you'd be sitting there not really being able to concentrate on the meeting because you were so desperate for the loo and just hoping the meeting would really hurry up and finish so that you could go without having to ask to go to the loo again. And my colleague just said to me, drink tea. Coffee goes straight through you, and it's kind of, that was something I learned when I was about 20, and it really does. It's like, if you've got stuff to do, if you have a coffee, you're going to be stopping to go to the loo as well. So soul gives oh right, Beverly, this is interesting. They're talking about gardening because Jackie said she would like to grow her own veg, but she doesn't have a place to do that. Um, and Beverly is saying digging in the dirt is proven, in capital letters, to be a mood booster. The soil gives off certain smells. I can believe that. I can believe that. We're creatures that are supposed to be in contact with the ground, because we didn't evolve to be in houses on carpet. We evolved to be walking on the soil, and didn't we all do that when we were kids? That's interesting. That's interesting. Because I love the smell of soil. I love the smell of soil. I don't want it in my dinner, but I appreciate the smell of it. Like when it rains and you can smell the ground. That's what I love about rain.
Oh, you're not smelling the ground when it rains. You're smelling the ozone in the air.
Oh no.
Yes, 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 yes.
Ah, humbug. Oh,
Yes, yes, yes. You don't know what you're smelling.
yeah, okay.
You better look
Explain.
that up. You better do
Expand.
some research. You better do some
Oh
research on
no.
that.
But you can smell the grass and you can smell the soil, and it just
That's
like you're saying,
after
no.
it's rained.
That's what I mean.
Oh, I thought you said when it's raining. When it's raining, that there is a distinct smell or an odor that you get with rain. That's ozone.
Right. Okay. Right.
Okay.
Next time it rains, I'm going to be out there
You get out there
with my hyper
right when
nose
those
sniff.
first drops of rain are coming. You can smell that rain smell. That's ozone.
Really?
Yes.
Is that bad for you?
No, not at all.
Oh, good. Phew. I say, please.
Not like
You,
6 cups or 18 shots of caffeine, depending on how you calculate your coffee over there.
oh my gosh, that day when oh my God, I had 18 shots of coffee. No
You're
wonder.
still
You're
having
right. Yeah.
flashbacks, aren't you?
Yeah. I've never quite been this right since. Yeah, no wonder, no wonder. because I'm pretty hardcore and I can pretty much do anything, as I said, except pee over a 3-foot wall. And I've never had coffee affect me quite so much as it did. But well, ever even noticed that I was having an effect from coffee. So yeah, 18 shots of coffee. That's probably lucky I didn't end up in the hospital. Oh dearie me. Coffee, yeah, coffee enemas. They do use coffee for colonic irrigation as well. Hi, Summer. How you doing, sweetheart? Thanks for joining. Hi, Carol. Right, Jacqueline, do you take Meta 7? Right, Madge is asking Jackie if she takes Meta 7.
I do.
Yeah, I do too. In fact,
let me.
I nicked one of Wink's this morning because I finished my bottle yesterday, and I said to Wink, "Have you got any left in your bottle?" Because sometimes he forgets to take it. Well, I opened his bottle. There's about 3 weeks supply left in there. He's so naughty. He's just so disobedient. I'm going to have to get a cricket bat out to him or something.
And that's another thing we need to talk. A cricket bat is not a bat. That is a paddle.
A paddle.
I'm terribly sorry to inform my fellow my friends from across the pond. That is not a bat. That is a paddle. You play baseball with a paddle. I'm sorry.
I think if I was to crack him around the side of the head with the flat bit, I think it would be more of a wake-up call than with a pole.
Possibly.
Your bat.
Possibly.
Your bat's a pole. A pole.
I wouldn't want to be hit with either one of them.
No, I wouldn't really hit him anyway, obviously.
I know that.
Obviously, I wouldn't. But,
so
how many times can you do them? Wah, 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 wah.
Right.
Take your pill. Have you taken your pill? Oh, I think so. I haven't done it. Yeah, I'll take it in a minute, darling. Woof, and out he goes again. It's like,
Okay, so here's the deal. We got we're about 10 minutes in from being an hour and a half, and I want to kind of bring it to a close, for at least from my end here. So if there's anything that anybody would like me to sort of expound upon or talk about on Thursday, I know Thursdays we kind of said was going to be an open mic kind of day, but last Thursday we sort of were fumbling around for material because we didn't have anything prepared. It was still fun, don't get me wrong, but I think it works better if we at least, start off with some facts and figures or something. So if there's something you'd like me to bring or to prepare, then let me know now, and I can try to do that for you for Thursday, because we're going to be, 6 o'clock on Thursday, right? Texas time?
Yeah.
Midnight your time? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's when we'll be back together again for this exciting venue. And we can hear all about what Sue has imbibed at that time or not. So
what ridiculous is I might be a bit late actually. I mean, I might not even make it, on Thursday, because I'm going to be stroking my fridge. I'm going to be opening the door. I'm going to be looking inside. I'm going to be feeling the chilled air, closing the door again. I might have to open it again. I might literally not be able to leave the fridge for days. It's going to be so exciting when it comes. And you just know I'm going to make a video of me jumping up and down like, I don't know, a kid in a sweet shop. I don't know. I'm just going to be so excited. So I'll try and remember to leave the fridge for long enough to see you all on Thursday at midnight.
Well, somebody's saying that they can't order Meta 7 where they are. Or Summer. I don't know, where is Summer that she can't order Meta 7?
Summer, aren't you in Australia? Did you say you were in Australia? Summer, I can't order Meta 7 here. Yeah, she's saying that.
You go to meta-7.com, just like is on my screen here at the bottom. I realize it's sort of this salmon color thing. You go to meta-7.com and you order. We ship to Australia all the time. We ship to New Zealand and Australia, but you can't order it off of Amazon. So if you have to order it from meta-7.com, and we ship that to you personally from Texas.
Yeah,
it takes about 6 weeks.
Meta, META. I'm just going to put it on here. Dash. Oops, that's underscore. Meta-7.com. Okay, go there. She's saying that she lives amongst Aboriginal communities, and they completely use plants and herbs for medicines there. Where have you gone now?
Wonderful.
One, the cool milks, or the white liquid, they use it for stitching and antibiotics. I don't know. Yeah, so she's, I'm going to have a look back at these comments because I've missed some of these. Some are really, really interesting.
Yeah, so somebody's asked me to talk about blue screen myths. Sherry is affecting eyes. Let's stick to nutrition and kind of what we're about.
Yeah.
Whole food, plant-based eating, intermittent fasting, any of those things I think would be good, especially on Thursday since we'll be talking about fasting. That might be a good topic. Some aspect of it. How does it affect whatever you think of something, or you can email me. You guys have my email address if you'd like something specific. Otherwise, you get what you get, right? Whatever I decide is interesting for the moment.
I'm trying to get my lovely friend Greg to he's absolutely up for coming on and really up for it. But the only way I have of contacting him is through Instagram messaging. So I'm waiting for him to reply to a message. So we may have a guest as well. So that will be great. Elena's saying, how about what plants to stay away from?
That could be good.
Yeah, that could be good. Or if you could overeat a certain amount of plants, a certain type of plant. I don't know. I don't know whether it's hi darling. You can overeat anything, my son is saying. Is that true? Have you looked that up?
Yeah, anything in too much excess.
Of course. I mean, you can have too much water. I mean,
will cause a problem.
So I'll look to see if there are any plants to avoid.
Right. Okay.
Plants to avoid.
Plants to avoid.
And those of you that are watching and listening right now, if you know of any plants to avoid, then maybe you could send me an email and kind of get me in the right direction. We could be sure to include those. Because I'm only as good as my time and ability to do the research. So if you've got a head start and you know that we should stay away from, the spiny thorned mesquite tree because it causes cataracts, let me know. Whatever. I mean,
cool.
Yes.
Tracy, hi Tracy, darling. Tracy is saying this plant-based diet is causing so much gas and stomachache.
That goes away.
It goes away.
That means the bacteria that live in your gut have not adjusted to the diet.
There you go, Tracy. It's going to go away.
Trust us.
Stick with it.
Trust us.
Stick with it. Tracy, yeah.
But that shows that she's really doing it. That's good.
Yeah, there you go. You see, your body is already doing stuff for you. And yeah, probiotic will be really, really helpful. A good one that actually works will be really, really good. So if where are you? Actually, you're a friend on Facebook, aren't you, Tracy? I think I'll look up where you are. I keep forgetting where everyone lives all the time. Sorry. I thought it was going to help my bowel problems, but not good. It will. It will, won't it?
Everybody's different. I believe that if you are having certain inflammatory bowel disease or irritable bowel syndrome, that you can expect an improvement with a whole food plant-based diet, okay? That is not 100%, but I suspect that you will get an improvement. I've had lots of patients with ulcerative colitis and also with Crohn's disease that have gone vegan, and they are improved. Are they 100%? No, because sometimes the damage you do to your body is permanent, and you're not going to get a complete resolution, but you'll get an improvement, okay? So, so keep that in mind. Once you've had a heart attack, you've done damage to the muscle of your heart, but you go whole food plant-based, you can get regression of the plaquing that led to the heart attack in the first place or contributed to it, and decrease your risk of having a second heart attack. But that doesn't mean your heart's going to beat stronger again, because once you've got damaged muscle, it's not going to come back.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So we're all starting at different places here, and it is a healthier. It's like people who are diagnosed with cancer, lung cancer. They decide, well, there's no sense in quitting smoking now, but yet there's real hard evidence that shows if they'll quit smoking, they'll still live longer and live better for the rest of their life, even if they've got the lung cancer. So, you make the change because it's going to make you healthier from whatever your starting point is. But if you've got advanced bowel problems, you can't expect 100% resolution. But that doesn't mean it's not worth it, okay? That doesn't mean you won't get a resolution. You may be one of those that does get 100%. But just remember, if it took you 40 years to get where you are, you can't expect in 12 weeks that it's going to reverse.
Yeah.
Okay? So, you may get over a 5-year period, you may get a full reversal, but you can't expect it to happen over a short period of time. That's not reasonable for your body to be able to do.
Yeah. Everybody here, look at the comments, Tracy. Everyone's saying to stick with it. And was it Beverly? Beverly said her stomach was a mess the first 6 weeks. So much loose stool and gas. Mm-hmm. And Beverly has, no type 2 diabetes anymore, no gout anymore, less pain, much better arthritis, doesn't have high blood pressure anymore, is not on a low meds. It goes on and on and on and on. And we know that Chrissy's had an amazing turnaround. So many of you have had such a turnaround and such a good experience from this. So hang in there, girl. That is what I will say. And I will send you a link for my probiotic because it's amazing. Okay. And I think Madge tried it. And I think who else who is on here tonight tried it, messaged me and said she thought it was amazing. Can't remember off the top of my head. Sorry about that. But just stick with it because, think of all the stuff that was in your stomach and all the stuff that's now, because you're eating more plants, it's sweeping through that you'll be eating a lot more fiber than you were when you were having a meat-based diet. And those fibers kind of, like a new broom sweeping clean, they're going to be getting stuff out of your gut that has been in there a long time. That it's hard to kind of, for the body to get rid of. So, all that's happening at the moment. So just stick with it. Okay, she's gone, you're all so helpful. Are you going to stick with it, Tracy? We're all dying to know that you're just going to push on through, if that's not a pun.
All right. Well, we'll leave Sue talking about bowels and pushing on through. And
what are you like? I'm going to go to my boys are home, and I'm going to spend some time with Wink now. So
good. And I promised the gang I would take them out, so we're going to head off too. So you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Oh, your weekend's over.
Yeah, I know.
It just ended.
But it's half term.
It just
ended. And I'm working till 10:30, which is great. But I think Wink might have to go into work normal time tomorrow, so he'll be talking about bedtime any second now.
All righty then. Well, thanks everybody for participating, and thanks for joining us. And I had actually more than usual, so I think that this is a good time for a lot of people. So I was glad to see everybody. So we'll be on again Thursday, 6 p.m. Texas time, 7 p.m. New York time, and midnight London time.
Yeah, that's right. It's excellent. It's absolutely excellent. Lovely summer to see you on here. It's absolutely lovely to see new people. We've got 19 on. Everybody's saying they're sticking to it.
Good.
Excellent. Because, the only way's up, babes. The only way's up. Lots of love, and I will see you on Thursday, and you'll probably see me through the week because I'm having the fridge delivered on Tuesday. Woo! So excited. And Elena's sending me texts going, how many hours, days, and seconds left till I have a fridge? It's insane. I'm getting all these gifts with people opening fridges and going like this. It's really funny. Bless you all. Absolutely amazing.
Bye for now. All right, then.
Enjoy your chili, Debs. Oh, Mary, you're just on, sweetheart. Sorry, we're just going now.
We're leaving. You have to watch from the beginning.
Leave
Bye.
me some thumbs up, babes, and put some comments. Lots of love. Bye.